Cut out the jabber. Don't be babbling like a fool. Say what you got to say. That's all. Then shut your dang pie hole.
And here we are. Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. It is Sunday, and you know what that means. It means Sunday Night Live. We've got YouTube. We've got the preparedmind.club premium members, and we've got subscribestar.com premium members. We're all here together, and that's why we call it the Zoo. And I tell you what, this is our security special edition broadcast. It's going to be the same fun Sunday Night Live you're used to, but I'm going to have one little twist, and I'll get to that. I want to give people a chance to get here. About 15, 20 minutes into the show, Man's going to pull my chain and say, time to do the security work, John. And I've got some really powerful things to share with you and have some fun. Now, once again, it is Sunday Night Live, and it's a weekly tradition. And has become a weekly tradition since shit hit the fan. Since Cerveza Bug started off, and I went to the RMZ, it's been one heck of a show we've done. But yes, on Sunday Night Live, it's also a fundraiser of sorts. It keeps the channel going, right? We do super chat questions. If you've got a question, you hit the super chat button up there. You can do Venmo, PayPal, CashApp. Down below in the description are those links. And anyone who does a $50 or more donation, well, that buys me a shot of 18-year single malt Scotch whiskey, and maybe, just maybe, I hit the bottle a little early. And again, when we get to the security special, our special security edition segment, there's going to be another offer out there for you guys. We're going to find out who loves me and who hates me. We're going to find out. Man, hang on to your hat when we get to that. Now, let's get into it. Once again, it's Sunday Night Live. It's your questions. I've got things I want to talk about. You've got things you want to talk about. The benefit is you're talking not just to me. You're not just talking to Man. You're talking to not just the people here now. You're talking to thousands of people who will be watching this video over the next week, because it'll go out to YouTube and people click on it and they click on it and they click on it, and they'll hear your questions. They'll think about what you're thinking about. And if you can ask a question that gets them thinking, going, yeah, it's just not right out there. It's just not right. We don't like what's happening in the schools or the banks or the military. We don't like what Biden's doing. We don't like what's happening in Ukraine. And that'll get other people thinking, and they will get prepared, and it'll wake them up. You want to red pill the world? This is how you do it right here. All of us, all the time in social media, we're out here making a scene. Now, we're becoming more powerful, even though they are trying to silence us and shut us down. Because of the not our power as individuals, me and you, but because the message is so powerful. You know, it's just saying Clinton was an a-hole, talking about Bill, or Obama, you know, he was a POS. That was one thing. That was another thing. But when you say Biden has left the southern border open and 5 million illegal immigrants have poured across the border, most Americans still do not understand that 250,000 people per month are coming across the border. Over 5 million have entered this country since Biden took office. Folks, that's an invasion, and he's allowing it. And when people hear that, it wakes them up. So if things are getting worse for us, well, they're also getting worse for the Democrats. You bet, folks. You know who I'm talking about when I say the squad. That's right. I'm talking about the Jihad Squad. Ilhan Omar, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. That's right. That one, that group. There's a few more in there, and I can't even pronounce their damn names. But what's important is the Jihad Squad is laying off half of its administrative staff. That's right, folks. The far leftist, Democrat, socialist, anti-American scumbags are getting so little money that they're having to lay off their workers. We're becoming more powerful with our message and our network. They are losing support faster than ever. Faster than ever. Folks, what is this? This is Bidenomics. Who is it hurting? Well, it's hurting everyone, but it's hurting them the most. It truly is hurting them the most. They're getting crippled by it, folks. Yet, social media persists. YouTube is now canceling people who are just too controversial. They aren't kicking them off the air. They're not kicking them out of YouTube, but they're taking their money from them. They're trying to defund us because they're losing their own funds because no one wants their message. No one cares about the far left message. But we're waking up, folks, and we need to continue waking everyone up. Now, there's a shot glass right there. I think it's ready to be put into action tonight. Ah, yeah. It's going to be one heck of a show when you see what I've got for you. And I think that the women in the audience are going to especially enjoy it, the special security edition segment. So yeah, folks, the Jihad Squad, the bunch of just abject losers in the Democrat Party, yeah, they've lost continuously over the years, wearing their little white clothes, pretending like they're all sanctimonious and holier than thou. They've proven themselves to be incredible dunderheads, hypocrites, and anti-Americans, and anti-Semitic too. But when you accuse them of being anti-Semites, doesn't matter. You want to accuse someone else of anti-Semitic stuff, they need to be fired. They need to be thrown out of Congress. Remember, the rules only apply to us, not to them. But there's one rule that hurts them, and that's taking their money away. We figured it out, folks. Take money away from their corporations, don't buy their shit, they start going broke. Budweiser, Target, Kohl's, right? Sneaker shoe companies like Nike and Adidas. You want to go woke, you're toast. We need to keep taking our money away from these people. It hurts them. They lose their influence. They lose their power. We need to keep doing it. Keep doing it. So let's do this. Let us keep doing our show, shall we? Let's go Brown, right? Now, Michael Brown checks in with a super chat donation. This is a good one. And it's a 556 super chat donation. And he says, this is for back pay. Well, at least it's not payback. Anyways, thank you very much, Michael. That was a great donation. I just saw that one pop up. That was great. And I also want to let you guys know, where are we at here? I want to go next and get this. Here it is, Chin Music. Just like last week, kicks down another 2223, a 2223 super chat donation through Venmo. So Mr. Uman, if you see anything from Chin Music, he says it's for the zoo today. So you got to keep an eye out if you can for his question. He's in there somewhere. Every week, Chin Music is out there ready to throw down with some good stuff. So thank you, Chin Music, for the 2223 donation. Now, where do we go from here? Where are we at time-wise? We're 10 minutes in. I was thinking about 15 minutes in or so. Maybe I'll make it 200 people live or 225, something like that. But I'll tell you what, in order to get that count up, and you'll understand why I want the count up live, go ahead and hit that thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up so YouTube goes, wow, people are interested in this show. Hit the thumbs up now. Make sure it's clicked. And if you're not a subscriber, you can't comment until you are a subscriber. That's how this show works. You've got to be a subscriber. And another thing, sharing that internet address. It is incredibly powerful to share that internet address. It gets the job done. I want us to be bumped up big time, because at some point, someone's going to take the John challenge, and it's going to hurt. You'll understand more in a few minutes. You're going to understand a few more. Now, I want you guys to join me in another round of Take a Wild Guess. Wow, that's a funny little commercial. Thank you, Mr. T, for cranking out the good, shall we say, transitions, intros, and promos, etc. Now, the unfunny part is what has happened. In the great state of Utah, a 19-year-old young man who is set to leave for his international tour. He was a missionary. You know, Utah missionary. You know who I'm talking about. One of those good guys. Anyways, guess what? He was all checked out, ready to go on his world tour. And suddenly, he collapsed and suddenly he died. He let everyone know that he was going on his mission to Japan, and then pow, collapses and dies in front of the entire family. It is an awful, awful tragedy, and it's just to be expected. With the Jim Jones juice out there, this is continuing to happen. And over in Australia, their version of Congress, their parliament, their inquiries over there into why are men, women, kids keeling over, something that's never happened before in the history of the world, where young people have died so frequently. And also, folks, a common thread amongst all of them, in addition to blood clots, is pericarditis and myocarditis, enlarged heart diseases. Why all of a sudden? Well, the Pfizer executives who have made billions and billions and billions of dollars, guess what? They don't know. They won't even answer the question. How is this process working? Now, we know the connection. See, you take the Jim Jones juice here and you go all the way over to here, and then you got heart disease, lung disease, blood clots, strokes, neurological disorders, and you die. There's a connection. We know it. But Congress over there, or rather Parliament, said, hey, tell us how, why, how does this work? Tell us. We want to know. They won't answer the question. They will not answer the questions. And you know what else is going on over there, and expect to see it here, is their, shall we say, representatives in their government are now telling the people, we never told you you had to get the Jim Jones juice. No, no, no. We never said you had to. Nope, nope, no, you didn't have to. It was all voluntary. You didn't have to. Really? Really? Do you remember that? I seem to remember all the politicians, especially outside of America, screaming at their people, mandating, etc. Yeah. And what have they done? They're lying out their asses. You remember Dr. Fauci? Well, I never told anybody anything. I didn't tell the school kids they had to stay out of school. I didn't say this and that. Right? We've got a lot, folks. They're going to start denying it. And I believe Dr. Malone, who is the one who invented mRNA technology, he developed it, right? He led the way in using it for experimentation. Gene therapy is what it was going to be called originally. Gene therapy. I don't need therapy on my genes. Well, here we are. Here we are. I want you to remember this if you can. These people will deny everything. The fact that it's made in a lab, the fact that the U.S. government has sponsored it, funded it. You know, Dr. Fauci.
Was it a mistake in so many states and so many localities to see schools closed as long as they were?
Well, I don't want to use the word mistake.
Well, did we pay too high a price?
There will be deleterious collateral consequences, collateral consequences, collateral consequences. If you go back and
Do you think collateral consequences of taking the Jim Jones juice could include people keeling over and dying? Oh yeah, folks. We're seeing it everywhere. Seeing it everywhere. Okay, get your super chat donations in, folks. If you've got a question, if you want to address what is going on, if you do. Now, we're up over 200. We're at 225. I think now I'm gonna do this, and I want to show everyone. This is the special security edition of the Prepared Mind channel. As things go to shit, as they get worse, what are we seeing? Well, we're seeing people being attacked. Uh-oh. You're jumping the gun there, man. You're jumping the gun. Oh, you're jumping the gun.
It was just a disclaimer before you start this segment.
Oh, okay. Kids, don't try this at home. Now, what prompted this was this. In California, in Stockton, California, which was about an hour and a half from where I grew up. Stockton is a shithole, folks. It's a shithole. In Stockton, at a 7-Eleven last week, the staff there were being robbed blind by a total thug criminal who was not only stealing everything, but continuously verbally abusing them and threatening to shoot them. That's right, folks. He threatened to shoot them while verbally abusive and stealing everything he could get his hands on and throw in a bag. So the 7-Eleven staff finally had enough of his threats. If someone's threatening to kill you, should you or should you not be able to, at the very least, protect yourself? And if you're able to detain the criminal after you disable them, take away their weapons, isn't that the right thing? Wouldn't that be the Samaritan's best move? To protect the people around them as well as themselves? So if they can, take a hardened criminal who is exercising violence in his actions to immobilize him, detain him for arrest. Well, now, folks, in this clown world in Stockton, the police didn't arrest this guy, or at least disable him, and it was the 7-Eleven staff. They did, and one of them took a giant stick and walloped the fuck out of the guy who deserved it. If more people stood up for their rights and protected others, we would have far less crime. But in this world, if you do something like this, you could get in trouble unless you are seriously threatened, right? So I want you, in this special security edition segment, I want you to think about what would happen if you, and especially you women out there, I think you're more at risk than men, if you think you're being followed, if you think someone is casing you, whether you're in a store, whether you're in the park, whether you're going to a parking garage, you're leaving work, you're getting out of your car and it's dark and early in the morning, you have to go inside. What if someone is watching you? You see them. What if someone's following your car? Are you, while they're at a distance, are you allowed to pull your gun out? No, you cannot pull your gun out and let them know you're armed. That's illegal. That's called brandishing. You will go to jail for brandishing a weapon. You can't say if someone's 50 feet away that they're a threat to you. So what can you do to protect yourself? You see, someone who's going to violently assault you, typically, now a mass shooter is different. They pull their gun out and they start going to town, or they're walking like an idiot with a series of weapons hanging off their body because they're going to go into a shopping mall, or God forbid, go into a church, or God forbid, go into a school and start killing people. You'll see them ahead of time. But What if they just want to rob you, beat you senseless, throw you on the tracks in front of a subway car that's speeding down the tracks? How can you protect yourself without getting in trouble for brandishing a weapon? Right? Well, if you were to pull out a big giant ass yellow taser or a big giant pepper ball gun, which are not lethal and therefore not considered a weapon, what's going to happen? Well, you're still going to cause alarm and someone's going to call the police if you pull out a taser and start zapping. Now, so how do you get around this? How do you protect yourself without tipping everyone off to what it is you think is going on? So this is what I came up with. This is what I did, right? So we're going to start with, how do we say this? Pepper spray. Pepper spray. Now, ladies, you know what this looks like, right? You know what that looks like. Well, this one looks more like a standard pepper spray thing. This looks like lipstick because that's what it's supposed to look like. Lipstick. If you're holding a thing of lipstick in your hand, nobody's going to think the wiser. You've now pulled out your self-defense so that you can protect yourself without causing an alarm, without scaring people around you. Right now, a lot of people think that pepper spray is effective, but it takes a few seconds for it to work. And therefore, you're at risk still of them getting their hands on you. So how do you immobilize them? How do you stop them? Well, the taser has been used by police for, well over a decade, couple of decades. Well, shit, yeah, a long time. The old taser for over a quarter of a century. But again, you pull that out, and now the bad guy's alerted to you, right? And he may step up his game. But if he doesn't know that you're armed with a taser, right, you have the advantage. And that's really what this is about, is number one, having the ability to defend yourself, protect yourself, preserve your safety, increase your security, and not alert people around you, and not alert the bad guy. So I want to show you a couple of items that I have that are specifically, how do we say this, designed for women, but they have men's stuff too. So to start off with, I wanted to show you this. Key fob, right? Looks like a key fob. Well, if someone was harassing you, following you, tailing you, following you through a mall, a store, out in the parking lot, right? It wouldn't be out of the ordinary to see a key fob in your hand, right? Well, this is the company that makes it, and they're not paying me to say any of this stuff. These aren't for sale on The Prepared Mind, but we probably should have some sort of self-defense links. Jolene's not here, so she can't even hear what I'm saying. But this is a stun gun. It's only got 27 million volts. Plus it has an alarm, plus an LED light. So let's say that someone was bothering you and you had this in your purse. What do? Well, you take it out. You click the on button underneath, right? And you continue on your way. If for some reason this person gets closer, now you have a viable weapon. Now, number one, if you don't want them to get close, it has an alarm on it. You can play that. That'll get everyone paying attention. It also has a handy dandy flashlight, just in case you want a flashlight. But here's the killer and the kicker, right? Suppose this person is not going to give up. Now you got a taser. It's a self-defense, self-preservation security weapon. It's non-lethal. And if someone gets close to you, they won't suspect that you'll be fighting back. And you'll have a chance to get them, arm, through clothing, etc. So that's just one of many different ideas for self-defense. I want to show you another one. Once again, in today's world, it is not unusual to see a woman carrying a cell phone. A cell phone. Same story. Someone's following you through the parking lot, or a car is following you. Right? A car is following you. A person's following you. Someone is harassing you and they won't get away. You were to reach into your purse or into your pocket, turn the little button on the bottom, and you've got a self-defense tool. Once again, holding this in your hand, ready, they're not going to suspect. You're going to do much more than try and call someone. Kind of an ouch factor going on there, right? That's another object. Here is yet another one, right? How many people have you seen with something looks like this, right? Is that an ink pen, right? A Sharpie? Is it a, oh, by the way, these are also rechargeable. This brand, they're rechargeable. So you plug them into your USB to make sure you're always powerful. Is this a vape pen? Is this a regular pen? Or is it a pen stun gun with 40 million volts? Once again, you take this out, right? Take it out, turn it on, power's up. They're not going to be real happy to be your friend anymore. And finally, the pièce de résistance. This one scares me the most. This is the lipstick stun gun. Now, number one, any woman with lips that big, you should be afraid of. But still, right? 25 million volts in this one. Someone's harassing you. Someone's following you. Someone's giving you the attention you don't want. You're at a restaurant, a bar. You're trying to walk to your car, right? You take this out of your purse. Look at the bling on that. And they come in other colors besides this. They have pink and silver and purple and shit. But you take this out, got a couple of buttons here, right? Flashlight and electric death. So once again, I wanted to bring these up because I thought that they were really cool. I don't sell them. We don't have a link to them. I just thought they were really good stealth ways to protect yourself. In a world now where men and women, old and young, are being thrown on train tracks, pushed in front of buses, beaten silly, because people no longer can stand up for themselves without getting in trouble. Now, how does that tie in? I just wanted to throw this out there. I told Uman I was going to do this. I said, look, I'm going to show these things because I think it's a very good security item to have. Right? Those are innocuous looking items that offer life-saving protection. How many times did we see women harassed by Antifa? People chased down by BLM and beaten senseless or murdered back in 2020. What happens when that starts again? What happens if you don't have the right to carry a gun because whatever in your life, or you're just afraid of guns, or you have no training, right? Or your state prohibits you from carrying a concealed weapon, right? What other options do you have? Those that I just showed you. Now, here's where it gets really fun, folks. I have never been hit with a stun gun in my life. And this is Sunday Night Live. It's Sunday Night Live. And I'm going to make this offer a $500 super chat donation. And I'll let you pick which of those things that I'm going to zap myself with. And we'll see what it exactly feels like to hit a 270-pound full-grown man with a taser. And I'm sure the reaction would be something that I couldn't fake one way or another. I do know that back when I was a jarhead, so yeah, shit, that's way back, 1990s, that's 10, 20, 30, over 30 years. There was a jarhead, another Marine. We were out at Virginia Beach on a weekend night, and some guy threatened one of my comrades with a stun gun. He took it off of him, And then later on that evening, after having a little too much to drink, he proceeded to zap himself and anyone else that he could get close to. And subsequently, yes, Uman, it is a super chat. Just $500, that's all. I'm not zapping myself for $50, that's for sure. I'd be here all night. They'd have to put a pacemaker in me at the end of the night. I suspect that only those who really hate me would want me to zap myself with that. But I'm willing to sacrifice, willing to take one for the team and see exactly how effective these tools are. So anyways, back to the story. I can't remember the guy's name. I just remember Netherlands Corporal. His first name was Chris. I don't want to use his last name. Yeah, we just laughed. This guy ended up getting arrested, dumbass, because he was drunk off his ass, and we used to cruise back then. He went down the cruise and was reaching in people's cars and zapping them. It was a total mess, right? There you go. Anyways, so let's do this. Let's continue with the show, and if somebody wants to play games, we'll get it on. Now, Darcy T sent in a PayPal super chat donation, $25. She said, "Good evening, John. What do you make of the collapse of yellow freight and the fallout on the supply chain? Thanks." I'll tell you what, Darcy, this is a sign of the times where we're at. Yellow freight, folks, has been around a century. It's an old freight company. Does that mean that they're slow and old, or does that mean they've had the best opportunity, right, to step up and learn the system of delivery logistics as it's developed? Have the best trucks, the best computers, the best this, the best that. Exactly. They should be the last one to fall out, not one of the first. But this is where we're at in our economy. It is slowing down, folks. It's getting slower. And any company that's lethargic, any company that's not flexible, any company that doesn't take advantage of every opportunity it gets is toast. I talked about the Jihad Squad. Talked about them losing, folks. The Jihad Squad losing supporters. Well, it's not just politics. It's not just the right wing. It's the left wing. It's not just little business. It's now coming down and affecting big business. Yellow freight is not woke. There's not a boycott against yellow freight for putting pictures of Dylan Mulvaney on their trucks. That's not what happened. Right? The fallout is that the supply chain has taken a crap. We have seen the Baltic Dry Index go up and down over the last 10 years in amazing gesticulations. And the Baltic Dry Index is the cost of freight over the oceans, over the seas by boat. And it goes up and down crazy. We've seen over the highway, which is trucking, come and go in huge waves where they do really well and then they take a crap. Fuel prices go up and then they go down. There's not enough trucks, then there's too many, then there's not enough drivers. And this is what we're watching. Any of this, whether it's shipping across the sea, shipping on trains. Remember when that crap was going on? They shut down the port of LA. They went on strike, the port of Oakland up north. In Los Angeles, all of a sudden, they didn't understand how to take the shipping containers off the trucks with the cranes and put the shipping containers on semis and on trains to take them out of the country. All of a sudden, they couldn't figure out how to do their jobs. Well, that type of screwball activity by unions, leftists, political advocates for left-wing lunacy, guess what? There's a price. Ultimately, there's a price. You keep screwing around with the economy and look what they're doing. Now, who does this serve? In all truth, it doesn't hurt the rich people. The mega rich is the ones I'm talking about. You know, the people that own Yellow Freight, it's probably a publicly traded company. Stockholders, shareholders are going to lose. The people that own it, large shares, right? They lose. But the World Economic Forum types, these multi-mega billionaires, they don't lose. It's not going to change what they have for breakfast. They're not going to be like, no, I won't be having the bacon because yellow freight went down. It's not going to change what they have for dinner. They'll still say, I'll take the filet mignon and the lobster, please. I can afford it. They've got no problem. For us, on the other hand, down here, us little people, it's a whole different situation. Now, since moving down south, I've also been running into a lot of very interesting people in different social, political, and economic classes. And it has been quite eye-opening. I wouldn't say jarring, but definitely eye-opening to learn a lot about how different people think about different things. Yellow freight, the fallout on the supply chain logistics out there can survive. Someone will buy yellow freight's trucks. Someone may buy the name of the company. Those trucks will go somewhere. The drivers will go somewhere. Now, next time there is a burst of economic activity, there may not be enough trucks or drivers, etc. We're going to find out. We've seen this up and down. It is not the sign of a healthy economy to watch things go up and down and up and down, up and down, and then way up and then way the hell down. It's not good. It should be a steady stream of activity and growth. That's how business can run, because if you've got a steady stream, right, a run from the beginning to the end, X and Y axis, if you've got that, then it's predictable. It's survivable. You can go with it. Right? That's what happens with reliable, honest, good systems. If it's doing this, that means we've got problems within the system. Money, goods, labor, everything. So that's what I think of that. Darcy T, thank you again for the great support you always send out. I really do appreciate it. Now, we're moving on through the show, and I want to thank everybody for showing up, having fun. Once again, if you haven't already, be sure you hit that thumbs up. That's for YouTube to tell them what finger they deserve. They need to know they're number one, and by hitting the thumbs up, it does that. And then, of course, sharing that internet address. All right, man, sending you a message. Okay, let's do this. Let's step into the realm of what you're thinking about. I've got all that I want to talk about right here on my computer systems. I want to know what you're thinking about on this Sunday night live. And Brad June with a $2 super chat donation, he says, hey, money to see lipstick strike. That's the one I fear the most. It just makes the loudest crackling noise. I'll tell you what, man. Yeah. If I knew women had this available as self-defense, I would not mess. I already don't mess with them, but I'm not going to zap myself with this dude. But that's some powerful stuff right there. That's all you get. That's what you get, Brad. That's what you get, man. Okay, man. Is there? Oh no. There you have it. Bonnie Blue says the best designed stun guns will have a wrist lanyard that unplugs, disables the stun guns if and when the attacker takes it from the intended victim. FYI, Super Chat will only allow me to scroll to $499.99, not $500. All righty then, Bonnie. I'll tell you what. I'll back it down to $475. I feel like I'm being haggled with, like I'm in a Persian bazaar. That's some funny stuff. But I'll tell you what I am going to do, Bonnie, and I do want to thank you for bringing up the part about the lanyard, and that safety thing. Once again, this right here, because she's done a $50 or a $49.99 Super Chat donation, Bonnie, I'm going to do a shot of this in preparation for someone who figures out some way to zap the shit out of me. Thank you, Bonnie. Oh, very good. Now, this stun zapper here, this one here has a wrist lanyard so you don't drop it so easily, right? And that's a good thing, but it doesn't disable it, right? Now, these aren't professional grade, right? I don't know what they cost. I have no clue. The idea, the concept was to do a special security edition to help people think about what's coming. Just have some fun with the idea. And by fun, I mean, how the hell, how the hell would you get hurt? Okay. I mean, how the hell would you keep from getting hurt? So yeah, if you've got something that looks inconspicuous, looks like something a woman would have in her purse, right? Looks like a cell phone. All these things are stun guns, and you can take them out of your you can take them out of your purse, right? You can take them out of your pocket. You can do all of those things without raising alarm, right? You can do all of those things without raising everyone's alarm around you. Now, again, if you feel threatened, you can always go to a store owner. You can go find a really big guy and say, hey, that guy over there is bugging the hell out of me. Wow, that scotch is already going to work. I love it. Thank you, Bonnie. Now, if the attacker takes it from you, the stun gun, I would think at that point, you know that you're in deep shit anyways. If the attacker took the stun gun from you and it pulled off the lanyard and it stopped working, what's going to stop the attacker, who probably knows about some of these defense items, from plugging it back in so he can use it? Now, again, is this a quick attack? If the criminal is not aware that you have a weapon, right, the odds of them thinking about it is different. I'm not a criminal. I'm not involved in getting mugged all the time. You know, this is just a way to be stealth about it, have the protective measures needed in a world where things are a whole lot less certain. Let me back up, Bonnie. We've had how many dozens of people thrown on either train tracks, commuter tracks, subway tracks in the last 2 years since the St. George Floyd riots? How many people knew, hey, that guy down there is looking at me? Whether it's an old man or an old woman, it's like, that young person over there is looking at me. How many women were like, I don't like how that criminal is looking at me? They might not be dead if they had a way to pull that out inconspicuously, right? Like a vape pen, right? Pretend they're vaping. And if that person came down to make a move, they get held off. Right? We know now what happens if you're on a railway dock, you're waiting to get on a train, and someone starts some shit. It's not a pretty scene, folks. To be able to defend yourself and keep this in your hand without raising suspicion, without giving the attacker the opportunity to know what it is you've got in your hand, right? That's a big deal. This one I like a lot because it's got the turn on button right there. That's the zap the fuck out of you button, and that's the turn it on button. See those little lights come on, lets you know it's time to fuck up the bad guy before he has a chance to throw you on the tracks or push you in front of the bus. And so it's cool. But yeah, there's a lot of safety features, Bonnie, that I know are really beneficial, and they do have their place. It's intelligently designed in a best case scenario, in a worst case environment. So, how do you protect yourself? I imagine if I had to use this, and I used the male silver colored one, not the pink one. if I was to use this and I was a small little person, I think that I would, right, zap the shit out of them and then run away so they couldn't get up eventually and try hurting me. Unless there was several people there to hold them on the ground until they're arrested, right? You don't want to play fuck around, right? Don't want to play fuck around, find out. You just need to get away, right? You're walking to your car in a garage, right? It would be nice to have an alarm. You've got that with this one here, right? You've got this one, you got an alarm, but also got the zap on that. So the more I play with these, the more comfortable I get, the more I like the idea of having something that looks inconspicuous, but is a very powerful device. Right, this other one here looks like lipstick, mascara, some kind of crazy thing. It's got a flashlight, but it has no on or off button. It has no on or off button. You just take the cap off and it's on. Anyways, that's where we're at with that. But yeah, Bonnie, I would love that for everyone to carry something. Perhaps a lady would feel more comfortable carrying something that doesn't look like a weapon, isn't shaped like a gun. That's just kind of the way I roll. Now, for those of you who missed it earlier, I said, you know what? I've never been zapped with a stun gun. If someone super chats $475, since we can't do 500, I'll zap the shit out of myself to see how the hell it feels. I'll tell you how well it works and how much of a deterrent it would be. I just had a friend that said, "Don't do it, don't do it." I'm not going to do it. Okay, there we are. Mr. Skylight checks in with a $19.99 super chat donation. Mr. Skylight also is the founder of the Sunday Night Live Wisdom Philosophy Club. So I would recommend also, Mr. Skylight, putting up one of your famous quotes. Now, in this instance, Mr. Skylight says, a former police captain friend of mine told me they all had to experience being tasered during training. He said it's like getting shocked by 220 volts. Not recommended for your heart. We need you in one piece, bro. Well, I'll tell you what, I've been zapped with a lot of alternating current. This is, I believe, direct current. Right? It's a battery in here, so that's DC voltage. It's different. And the volts is one thing, and the amps is the other. This right here is very high voltage, but very low amps. It's a non-lethal self-defense security tool. And I don't think I'll be dying. Now, again, it probably hurts like hell. I have never been tased, but I've been shocked by a capacitor in a car, and that was DC voltage, very high voltage, tens of thousands of volts. In fact, Uman probably knows. Are capacitors and coils, are those 50,000 volts, 20,000 volts, or 100,000 volts? You can't remember? We used to have, there we are.
Yeah, it all depends. I mean, you could get different voltages of those capacitors and stuff, especially for like the ignition coils and stuff. Your spark plugs will give you one hell of a zap.
I have been hit by a few of those.
Yeah, but that can vary. I mean, I've been hit by 220 more times than I care to remember, and it was uncomfortable, but it didn't stop me or do anything bad to me. And those were like probably 40 amp circuits. So
now, a guy I used to do business with, he was standing in water and got hit with 480 volts, and he lived.
Well, that's a direct connection to ground, so that makes it worse.
Yeah, he took it all and somehow lived. But yeah, this is non-lethal. It's just it's designed to interrupt your neuromuscular receptors enough that it incapacitates you.
Well, you know what I found? I got a couple of those in my stockpile, and when I was showing them to some of my friends, my son's buddies, uh, just the sound of hearing that made them freak out. So I think, you know, it's probably just hearing that sound that will deter them more than the actual pain of being hit by that thing will. I can't imagine that that's going to do much more than maybe give you a little bit of a burn and a quick little like 9-volt battery on the tongue kind of sensation.
Oh, well, that's nothing. That's, I guess I can't tell you. I've been hit with the car voltage, and I'll tell you, it makes you touch something here, and when you're done, your arm is way back here. That's just from the little car voltage stuff.
Yeah, but you're also talking about a car battery that has what 7, 8, 900 cold cranking amps of power. That's a lot different than a little AA or 9-volt battery in one of those things. So I don't know. I don't want to get hit with one of those things.
Voltage and amperage, two different stories, right?
Yeah.
DC versus AC.
It's the amperage that kills you, not the voltage.
That's correct.
So,
I've seen a lot of people take cop tasers, and it takes them right to the fucking ground.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if they shoot them in the leg or the chest or the back or the arm. They go down, and they go down like a sack of shit.
Yeah,
And,
but those are also a whole different story than what those things are there.
Those are the probes, yes.
Yeah, I mean, those things that you got there, I think the sound is probably going to be a bigger deterrent to your attacker than anything to prevent them from getting too close to you. And I don't know exactly how much a determined attacker is going to be deterred by getting hit by one of those. But
well, you might just say, look, set phasers to stun. If someone gets, someone's following you, you're not happy about it. They're paying a little too much attention, right? You stop and you've got it in your hand, and you just say, I want you to stop and leave me alone. Or I'm going to hit you with 45 gazillion, gajillion gigawatts.
Well, most criminals aren't probably so smart that they would know any better. So, I mean, that may be an effective defense or deterrent. Yeah.
Right. But they know this, right? They know that sound.
Oh, yeah.
They know that's going to hurt them. And you could tell them, again, they understand violence. Criminals understand violence.
If nothing else, if they watch cartoons as a kid, they know that's not a good sound.
That's not a good sound. You say, once I tase you and you drop to the ground, I'm going to tase you in your nutsack continuously until the police show up to stop me and arrest you. I can't imagine how that would feel. There's not enough money in anyone's bank account to get me to tase myself on my nutsack.
Hell no.
If someone threatened me with that, I'd be like, you know what? I'm going to go find an easier target. And I think that's really important, is deterring the bad guy.
Yeah.
Right. Now, a determined attacker is going to come at you. And what other choice have you got at that point? If an attacker is determined to come at you, you've got nothing. If you don't have a gun or a knife, and again, they can take a gun from you. They can take a knife from you. They can take a taser from you if you're in a unpopulated area, like say in a parking garage or something else. If they pull the stun gun off and your lanyard shuts it off, they've got plenty of time to figure out how to make it work again. Or
let me interject. I don't think most criminals are smart enough to figure out how to make it work again. I think in the heat of that moment, they're going to try it. If it doesn't work, they're going to toss it and be done with it.
Yeah, but then what are they going to do to you?
Yeah, well, that's a different story. But I don't think, at least at that point, they won't be able to use it on you. You may have a fighting chance to fight them off physically or by some other means at that point. But I like the idea of having that thing disabled, because I guarantee you 99.9% of these criminals would not know that was disabled by ripping it off of the wrist lanyard.
Now, how many videos have we seen of these subway jackasses getting out of line and people just sit on their hands? They don't help the person who's being assaulted. I think a woman was raped on a subway train in front of everyone. You need something, damn it. Something.
Oh, absolutely. And It's
in this
just
case,
such a
I would
sad
rather
thing
try
that,
to-
we got that situation with the Marine in New York, where
Right.
he took care of that guy, and now he's in jail being prosecuted for
he choked him
protecting
out.
the rest of the public. That's the problem with this country,
He choked that guy out.
Yeah.
Well, there's a good Marine there and a decent human being. But imagine this. Okay, we're like, well, it should shut off if it gets taken from you or knocked out of your hand. Right? This one here, wouldn't you rather have this roll across the subway floor to someone else who could pick it up, and they might all of a sudden feel like they are brazen enough, they've got enough power to stop the bad guy who is going to beat the hell out of you or rape you or whatever else?
Honestly,
world, man.
I have no faith that anybody would step up and do that, honestly.
Well, I agree with you. It's hard. What are you? You have to defend yourself now.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid, my grandmother had a little itty bitty pocket knife she kept on a keychain. And I saw it one day and I asked her, I go, "What's that for?" She's like, "Well, it's to protect myself in case someone bothers me." I was impressed. "Oh, okay, Grandma, you're pretty tough." No. It's a fingernail file would be a better weapon than what she had.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if it's a big knife or a little knife. Stabbed is stabbed, cut is cut, shot is shot, whether it's a 22 or a 45. I mean, it may be enough, it may not be enough. I mean, you may be able to do enough damage with that little pocket knife if you hit the guy in the right place compared to stabbing him with that big Bowie knife and missing every vital organ and major blood vessel.
Right. If you see a little knife, you won't be as scared as you would if you pulled out that Crocodile Dundee knife.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it.
All truth is much more unwieldy and probably harder to penetrate with because it's such a big blade.
Yeah.
But we know that tasers actually work.
I think they're a great deterrent, but I wouldn't bet my life on it.
I was just gonna say, are you willing to bet your life on it?
Nope.
Would you rather stand on a subway platform waiting to get on the train, unarmed, or with some sort of defense?
Absolutely, with some sort of defense. And if the taser is my only option, then I would take that over nothing. But I would not have a extreme amount of confidence in a commercially available unit. You know what I mean?
Well, do you have confidence in the police to help you?
No.
You have confidence in other people on that? That's what I'm saying. You've got to do something at this point, because it is no longer a question of.
If it was my only choice, it would be better than nothing. Absolutely.
Right. And then now we have people willing to assault cops when they're in uniform in their fucking cars. These criminals don't give a shit anymore. You've got to do something for yourself. Nobody else is going to step up. The police don't give a shit. Right? You're not allowed to have real weapons in much of the country where I'm at, you're at. It's different everywhere. But you've got to have something. You don't. And my thing here was you don't want to alert the bad guys that you've got something until they're closer, and then you need to either scare them with the sound or use it in self-defense. And if that's your last line of defense, at least you've got something that's been demonstrably proven to fuck people up. That's all this was about. What else are you gonna do?
Yep. No,
the bad guy makes their move on you and you've got nothing, you're going down.
Yep. Yeah, and even if you got something, I mean, there's no guarantee. I sent you that video earlier this weekend that I got from Corsair, where there were two guys at a gas station. There was a cop getting ready to go into work. He was paying for his stuff. He was in uniform. Mm-hmm. And these two guys in the middle of the morning, broad daylight, no disguises or anything, they went for the guy's gun and tried to take that from the cop as he was paying for his coffee.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. So you can either be a 100% victim or you can take your chances and have some sort of defense. And my recommendation is defend yourself.
Always.
Yep. Have something, whatever it is.
To the best of your ability and to the best of what you are allowed to carry or able to carry. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I wouldn't want to bet my life on any of this, but it just might save someone's life. At this point, hey, if cops carry stun guns, and I know it's the barbed wired style, right? They know it works. And if you can get someone off you long enough to run or kick them in the nutsack, and I'm sure the higher up you put it, right? You get them on the leg with this is one thing. You get them in the body is one thing, or the arm. You get them on the neck or the face or the head, and you're zapping and putting that kind of voltage in them. They're probably gonna not like it and collapse and be fucked up.
No, I mean, it may be the distraction you need. Like you said, it might be that distraction you need to buy you that half a second to get away.
To get away.
Yeah.
Right. To get away. Anyways, it just seemed like the thing to do since I had access to these toys. I really liked the creativity of the manufacturer to make them look inconspicuous so that you could have it ready in your hand, right? Versus pulling a big yellow frickin' stun gun out. It's like a small club. And then everyone around you is going to panic.
No, I agree. They're very, very unique. It would be interesting to see them tested on somebody, but not you.
I got to be careful with this one. I got to get myself. Yeah. All
right.
fun and games. It's all of this is academic until you need it. Everything is. It's just until you need it. Right, owning all these guns and this ammunition that many people have, it's academic until you need it, and then you're going to wish you had it.
Yep.
Same with the food you store, the water purification you use, the medication you've saved up so that you've got enough. It's all just academic until George Floyd happens.
Right, and it comes to your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we got a couple more super chats for you to get to, so I'm going to take myself off here, and we'll put the next one up if that's all right.
Oh, yes. Yeah, thanks for engaging in the fun, man. Appreciate it. All right, folks, back to it. We got Shelly Chambers with a $50 super chat donation. So first thing we're going to do is I'm going to have me another scotch. And thank you, Shelly. $50 donations buy me a scotch as I contemplate zapping the shit out of myself if someone figures out how to donate $475. Woo! And Shelly has been an awesome supporter of the Prepared Mind channel. Semper Fi to you and hubby and everyone else. Bottoms up. Mother's milk right there. Now, she says, I see in the not so distant future people readily accepting Neuralink. Let me stop right there and describe what Neuralink is first. And holy cow, I just got an email from Mr. T who sent some graphics. Thank you, Mr. T. I'll get into that stuff later. Now, first, Neuralink is the Tesla or Elon Musk brain implant that goes in your brain and hooks you up to the internet directly. Geez, I can't see any problems with that. So Shelly says, hey, people readily accept that in the future. If you were a quadriplegic, would you get the brain chip if it cured you? And would you also be thinking about a potential Freddy Krueger nightmare that would not end? Oh, there's so many negative possibilities. Now, of course, if let's just say you're a paraplegic or a quadriplegic, meaning you didn't have the use of your legs or your legs and your arms. And what if the Neuralink people said, you've got a 50-50 opportunity that putting this in here, we can fix things. Now, of course, a lot of people are paraplegic or quadriplegic because they have spinal cord injuries. In the lower spine, it's cut, severed, damaged in such a way that you can't use your legs. If it's a neck injury, there go your arms. Right? That brings up a lot of fear for people. So I don't know if the brain implant could do that, but perhaps it could. Right? Perhaps they could put a Neuralink system in that bypasses and goes around all of this, maybe multiple Neuralinks throughout your body to make your muscles work. Who knows? what they're going to come up with next. But yeah, but what if you put this in and all of a sudden some unscrupulous person hacks into the Neuralink control center in Elon Musk's headquarters, and they're able to flip a switch and start giving people instructions or controlling their bodies in some fashion. Now, one thing I've noted, and I noted this a long time ago when they were doing some experiments, certain frequencies of radiation cause people to become angry, pissed off, or also, shall we say, depressed or sad, right? Our bodies react to frequency, vibration. And so by, how do we use this expression? Exciting the frequency or reducing it, you can cause people to change their state of mind, their moods. If something is directly implanted into your brain, they can certainly make some serious changes pretty quick. The scene from The Kingsman comes to mind, where the guy with the phone, right, the bad guy, Samuel Jackson, Valentine, gives out free phones. And when he was good and ready, right, they had the phone emit a particular frequency that caused people to become psychotic and violent. And in the movie, you know, people all around the planet just started beating the shit out of each other, murdering each other. And it was really, really freaking crazy. It would become a nightmare on Elm Street and every street, Shelley, if that happened. And somehow, some way, and I'm sure they've tested it. I'm sure they've figured out what something like that can do, what the negatives are as well as the positives. I'm sure they're well aware of the amount of control they can have over someone's life, whether it's directly talking to them. Now, the Neuralink, what gives you internet access? It provides you with the answers you need, instructions, communication with other people. It's quite interesting and also quite frightening. Thank you, Shelley, very much. Great donation, great question. Hey, I really fear someone who could be sitting next to me, a coworker, a family member, someone whose business that I'm at. And one moment they're normal, and the next moment the light switch flips. Someone at work, a family member, becomes a raving, psychotic killing machine. Right? Not so good, right? Not so good. All right, Mr. Uman, where are we at with everything else? I have no idea. We got into that awesome discussion about options. We got RV floor plans with a $4.99 super chat donation. Thank you. And he says, hey, do you know how healthy this country would be if they used our taxes the way they should be spent? Keep it up, John. I tell you what, man, I totally agree. If they quit spending money on these ridiculous bio research for weapons programs, how much of that could be used? And never mind the debt, paying off the debt. Just today, if they gave us the money back or used it, I'm just going to say used it socially, not to fight wars, not to do medical research, not to fund their own special programs, not to fund special black ops programs. Imagine how much good could be done if they would focus on people's health. Because you talk about how healthy this country would be if they quit looking into weaponizing bio research and instead spent that money healing people, making us healthier. That would be amazing. How about using the taxes to educate kids instead of grooming them to be sex toys? It would make a big difference. How about instead of spending our money giving our weaponry away to Ukraine so they can replace that weaponry with even more expensive weaponry, maybe it would be a good idea if they spent it fixing our infrastructure, our highways, dams, bridges. That would put a lot of people to work, right? Keep that money going in the economy instead of sending it into a corporation. And God only knows what they do with that money and where it goes and who gets it and where they're spending it. We got one hell of a problem on our hands there, RV floor plans. And thank you for checking in. I see on your little, sorry, right there, your picture, you got a boat and it looks like a few people ready for a beach invasion. Awesome stuff there. All right. Thank you much. Okay, Mr. Ooman, I've got some more topics. I got some more stuff to talk about. Let's do another super chat donation. See what we got next. And it's Chin Music. He says, John, I can't imagine a 6'6" Viking like you haggling price with some rug salesman in a Persian bazaar. I want video. You're right. I'm not a haggler. I just don't. It'd be better just to use the pommel of a sword to bop someone on the head and talk some sense into them. Yeah, it's. If I was at a Persian bazaar, I would want one of these stun guns because I'm sure I would be looked at, regardless of my size, as someone worth, knocking over the head and dragging into an alley and going through my pockets. I do not want to go to a Persian bazaar. But that said, I've met a lot of people who claim ancestry as Persians. And they've always been really good people. Really good people, the Persians or Iranians, as they're more commonly referred to. But going to one of their bazaars may be quite a bizarre thing. It's a weird world, folks. Strange stuff. I was just thinking of breaking down and going into a big discussion on history, but perhaps not. Not at this time. All right. Thank you, Chin Music, for the great donation and the donation earlier. You are the man. Be careful. Be safe out there. We've got a lot of stupid folks, and it is off the hook. Now, we've got the pot calling the kettle black yet again. We know that Russia is not full of the nicest people, right? Russian politics are bad. I don't pretend that the Russians are great people or that Putin is a nice guy. But how much worse are they than the Americans, or rather the United States government? I myself I catch myself all the time equating Washington, D.C. with us and the American people. It's not our government anymore, Washington, D.C. Anyways, Mr. Blinken, idiot spokesman for the Department of Defense or the State Department or the White House, whenever they want to drag him out. He was lampooned and attacked verbally because this idiot Blinken decided he wanted to condemn Russia for convicting this fellow named Navalny for political motivation reasons. They wanted to silence their opposition, Putin and the Kremlin and Russians. Really? The U.S. government is going to criticize Russia, the Kremlin, and Putin for convicting an opposition leader, a political opposition leader. At the same time, Biden's Department of Justice is persecuting Donald Trump. That's the world we live in, folks. And to call back to Ooman, on the micro level. See, that's the big time macro level. Down on the micro level where you and I exist, right? People are being robbed, beaten, murdered, and raped. And if you defend yourself, the government comes after you and says, how dare you assault somebody or kill somebody in an effort to protect yourself, right? Just like, I wonder what a judge or prosecutor would think if they were invited to a Taser party. Wow. I tell you what, I can't believe where the time has gone. We're already at an hour and 15 minutes into this Sunday Night Live Zoo presentation. Now, again, these politicians, they love to talk shit. Matt Gaetz, who is a Republican out of the state of Florida. He's in Congress, and he wants Jack Smith to come to the House Judiciary Committee and answer some questions. Matt Gaetz has been a pretty strong voice of reason and conservatism, etc. But he has to, and Jack Smith, by the way, the guy he wants to come, is the man who's persecuting Trump with all these bullshit charges. I mean, first you had Adam shit his pants, shifty shift, Mr. Bug-eyed, light in the loafers, fruitcake himself, right? Arranged 2, not 1, but 2 impeachments for Trump with his lies. They had to use lies and bullshit. Now we've got Jack Smith with lies and bullshit to prosecute Trump. So Matt Gaetz has had to threaten him with a subpoena to force him to come speak at the House Judiciary Committee. Talk does nothing with these people. Why even threaten him? Why not just fucking subpoena him right out the gate? You see, that's where we're coming to, folks, is this talk has to stop. Same with you and I. We need to stop talking about, well, someone needs to do something. And we need to prep to action, period. We're complaining, but are we taking the steps that need to be done? Don't just talk about sending emails or text messages. Do it. Send emails, send text messages to Washington. We need them to hear loud and clear, right? And tell them, hey, it's time to stop talking. Subpoena them. Charge them with contempt of Congress. Don't threaten them. Don't tell them it's coming. Do it. Just do it. Stop talking. If you want them to come talk to you, Matt, don't put up a big show. Just fucking subpoena. Subpoena is not a criminal offense. It's not a criminal charge. It's a demand that they do as they're told. That's what a subpoena is. It's a demand. Force him with the subpoena. Don't give him the option. Jack Smith needs to come and explain himself because he looks exactly like what he is. And we all know what he is. He's a political tool. A political tool. And that's all he is. He's playing a game. They're all playing games, folks. They're all playing games. By the way, hit the thumbs up. It's right down there. And hit the notification bell. It's right down there. And share the internet address up here so people, whether they come on live right now or they come back sometime in the future and they watch this video and they learn something. They wake up, they take some action. They come to their own rescue, right? On the national level by telling Matt Gaetz, stop talking, right? Tell your congressman. Or on the personal level, you need to save yourself, right? That's it. We need to protect ourselves, period. Now, speaking of the in-game, right? It's SHTF extraordinaire. Well, there's an in-game to everything. Is Ukraine, I'm switching gears, by the way, is Ukraine, the country of Ukraine, and its leaders, its so-called leaders, Zelensky, who has to get a step stool to use a men's urinal. That's how short this guy is. And it's not that I have a problem with short people. I just have a problem with Zelensky. Are they waking up and realizing the high likelihood that Ukraine and its so-called leaders, Zelensky and others, are going to be tossed under the bus or ejected from the bus and left behind by NATO, the European Union, and the United States government, the U.S. government in D.C.? Do you think they see it coming yet? I'm predicting it's going to come. We keep being told that we're not going to stop supporting Ukraine until they defeat Russia, and Russia has to go back to Russia with its tail between its legs. I don't think so. Russia's like, we ain't giving up and we got nuclear weapons. And if that's the case, if we have to, we'll use them to protect themselves. Right? So what's more likely, folks? The U.S. giving up or Russia giving up? with all those NATO bases getting closer and closer to the Russian border, and NATO bases can have nuclear weapons on them, do you think that they're happier about what's going on or less happy? Now, there is a little bit of evidence, right? Well, there's quite a bit, that the United States government just gives up and runs away. That's right, folks, Afghanistan. I'm sure Biden and the Pentagon and Washington, D.C., and their backers in the banks will just give up on Ukraine if it's a no-win situation. The end game for Ukraine is exploit them and get all the wealth they can out of that country, or just abandon them and spend money where it is a better investment. I think they've got a similar end game for us. That's exploit the hell out of us and make all the money they can and own this country and own us as slaves. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. You'll eat the bugs and you'll be fine with it. Or are they just going to abandon America and let it crumble and fall so that yellow freight is not just one company, but every freight company collapses. Every bank in this country collapses. Every corporation collapses. Is that what they have in mind? We're going to find out what their end game is for us, folks. We know medically that they have an end game. We know that. We know medically they have an end game. And what is that game? Jim Jones euthanize the hell out of everyone. Population reduction for everyone. That's their plan. It is. But the fight is on, folks. The fight truly is on. And it's coming from an unlikely place. And I don't buy the hype. I don't. But I want to read to you this story so you can think about it and think, okay, is it hype? Is it bullshit? Does it help? Does it postpone things? Can it work? Will it have an effect? Well, Elon Musk, through Twitter, which is now called X, right? It's formerly Twitter. Elon Musk is going to pledge legal funding, unlimited legal funding. So he wants to engage in lawfare, that is war using the courts. Elon Musk wants to do this for any employee, not just folks in Twitter, but any employee anywhere who has been unfairly treated or terminated for posting contrarian views or even liking something on the internet. If they now on X, if they've posted on Twitter or put a like on Twitter and that person is punished or fired, Elon Musk wants to pay their lawyer fees and fight back. Now, this is interesting. What kind of effect do you think this is going to have? Like Soros, George Soros, who has funded BLM, Black Lives Matter, and politicians and prosecutors and district attorneys, Soros has joined, folks, the legal battle. So now Elon Musk is going to fund lawsuits against woke companies. Well, how about banks? How about for people who have been removed from the system? Donald Trump has been kicked out of a bunch of banks. Other Republicans have been kicked out of a bunch of banks. People get locked out of PayPal all the time because all of a sudden PayPal has decided they don't like you. What type of world do we have, folks? Every arena we have has become a war zone. Schools are now a war zone for the hearts and minds of children and their safety. No longer are schools about education. Our military is now a social experiment to see how many balls and boobs they can cut off of people who enlist. The court system is now funded by the likes of George Soros. The American Bar Association is a complete liberal shit show. And other legal organizations like the Southern Poverty Law Center or the Anti-Defamation League are complete left-wing screwball sites where they fund the worst kind of lawsuits. They're no longer concerned about civil rights, by the way. Now it's all socialist all the time, right? That's the world we have. Every single part of it, we're under attack. Medical world, have some Jim Jones juice. Medical world, put on 6 masks. Go to the store, you're dealing with inflation. Go to the bank, you got it. Everywhere you go, it's your ass. Your ass. You want to post something that woke companies don't like? You get fired. You get punished. You get demoted. You don't get that promotion. You even put a thumbs up on something you're not supposed to, you're going to be hurt for it. I'll tell you what, the best way to tell these people to fuck off is to tell them to fuck off. And they don't listen to every video, but they do see your thumbs up. I've done it 100 times if I've done it once, folks. If someone's putting on a good show and I'm going to straighten you out. I mean, who was it? Which dim-witted actress in Hollywood said, if anyone says anything about those trans people, I'll fuck them up. What was her name? It was the blonde broad. Can't even remember her name. She's been in a bunch of movies, right? Really famous, yada, yada, yada. Thinks she's something special. She's going to fuck people up because they speak up against trans. Well, aren't we supposed to speak up against a group of people who have demonstrated that they're lunatics and that they're also mass murderers and violent, killing their parents, family, everything else? These are a bunch of jackasses out there, folks. You trust them? Really? You trust them? I remember sharing with you guys years ago, because back in the 90s, a family member, young family member, went to school, and she came home and said that the teacher invited, and this was in the 90s, folks, a couple of homosexual men to the class to talk to them, and they shared with them. They said, yeah, we think about sex all the time, and right now we're thinking about sex with you. When I first heard that, I thought, that's freaking awful. And I shared that with you several times on this channel over the years, this story. And I'm sure a lot of people thought, oh, that's bullshit. They wouldn't go into a classroom and say that to a bunch of kids. How do you think about that now? With all this minor attractive person bullshit and all this trans ideology and all these drag queen people and all the perverted gay porn and pedophilia crap in schools. You think I was making that shit up? Every single sector in our life is a war. So I'll accept help on any front that we can get. And if Elon Musk wants to pledge unlimited legal funds to go after these woke sons of bitches, good. Good, do it. Fight back, folks. Wake up. Get prepared. Have your tools. Be ready to fight back at any time, whether it's on a freaking, in a subway, in a parking lot, at a school, in a shopping zone. Be ready anywhere you're at. Be prepared here to deal with. Have contingencies for failures. That's what being prepared is about. And then, of course, helping others wake the fuck up. All right, Mr. Ooman, where are we going now? Who wants to step on up? And it is Chin Music with another $9.99 super chat donation. And if you don't know, do a super chat donation and your question comes right down here. And he says, when seconds matter, the cops are just minutes away. Exactly. Let's see, when I was, before I went in the Marine Corps, I was in Oakland, California. Is this the guy who should be hanging out in downtown Oakland? Oakland, California. Walking down the street, some guy asked for some money. And I was like, no. And he's like, no, I just need a little money. I took my wallet out, and as soon as I opened it, he put his hand in my wallet. Luckily, he didn't try grabbing the whole wallet. He just wanted the money. Right? And we started wrestling around, and I started yelling, help, someone help, right? People just stood around and looked, The guy eventually got the $10 out of my wallet, my last 10 fucking dollars. Ran across the street, jumped in a Firebird, right? And that is his getaway driver. They took off down and around the corner. Robbery scheme set up. They got $10. He probably, well, back then it wouldn't have been a waste. Today it was probably $10 in gas he used just to get away. And I stood around for a few minutes. Nobody helped. No cops showed up. No sirens. Can we help you, young man? Nope. If the cops even show up, right, when seconds matter. Now, I don't know. That was way back then. That was 1987. 1987. If I had this in a more masculine color, of course, in my pocket, and some guy came out in a big city and decided to start talking to me, I'd probably stick my hand in my pocket and pull this out, and it looks like an inconspicuous pen or vape. And I was suspicious that this guy might start giving me a hard time. This would be there in a matter of seconds, right? Matter of seconds. It would help me deal with a potential mugging or assault in a much more effective way. Right now, today, of course, Mr. Chin, I carry a 45 ACP, and I've got, 4 magazines, 7 rounds each magazine. It's a pretty effective deterrent also. Anyways, thank you very much. And it's good to know. People need to realize that police are not here to help you when bad things are happening. If they do, you're very fortunate, because truly, I think the average response time across the whole country is, I think it's 12 minutes in a serious life-threatening emergency. If someone hasn't been shot or a bank being robbed, I don't think the police really get there in a hurry. Someone has to be stabbed or shot. The police get a phone call, 911, and then they get there as fast as they can, and only then is the response time about 10 to 15 minutes. Not a good scene, not a good program, folks. You've got to take care of yourself. Now, again, one of the best ways to win a confrontational situation is to not get in one. Not get in one. So keeping yourself out of trouble by being aware of your surroundings, etc., is a good idea. All right, Mr. Uman, I appreciate you manning everything. You've got the big blue wrench. Yes, he does. As well as the super chat permission zone. And Luke Thompson steps up with a $2 super chat donation, folks. Thank you for supporting the show, the channel. I really appreciate it. It keeps us going, keeps the pantry full of Spam, tuna fish, and keeps the weapons charged. And I like that these also are rechargeable, right? Rechargeable. Nope, no, it's on the back here. There. This type of shit is rechargeable. It's not, welcome to 2023. Everything is rechargeable. They come with chargers, so you don't have to put batteries in them. You could recharge them off of any small solar panel. This one's particularly ingenious. I really do like it. Right. Cell phones. All right, Luke Thompson, I got toys to play with here. He says, I would like to give a shout out to your new channel, Aquatic Adventures with John. I also was on an adventure. I hiked 2 miles to my swimming and fishing hole. I got an absolute great workout, and that is fucking awesome, Luke. One, thank you for shouting out to the new channel, Aquatic Adventures. It's a lot of fun, and what I'm doing is compiling experiences and creating some videos about them. Physical conditioning is great. You went to your swimming and fishing hole. It's fascinating how so much of our life revolves around water, and it should, right? In fact, the thumbnail I chose for tonight was a hike I took that took me to that watering hole where I used a water purification tool to see if I could, see if it works, see if I could drink fetid, stale water and not die from it if I drank it through a life straw. Anyways, yeah, water, it's the stuff of life. It's great. It's good stuff. That's why I did the Aquatic Adventures. I love being around water and the exercise you get. It makes you feel good to get exercise. It's so much better than living a stuffy, sedentary lifestyle sitting on the couch. Anyways, thank you, sir, very much. I hope you caught some fish at the same time, or maybe did some swimming up there. It's a good deal. It's a good thing. Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Uman, I'm thinking of going and getting into this right here, right? What have I got? Well, if you don't have one of these zappers, you may have elected to use a gun. We have another huge Second Amendment victory, folks. And it's not a court victory. It's you and I. It's people like us. In July of 2023, this year, we now have 48 straight months of massive record gun sales in the United States of America. 48 straight months of Joe Biden convincing us that we need more guns, not less. Well, they continue to help us, the left-wing idiots, because of their belief systems, because they've caused shit to hit the fan, because they allowed the 2020 riots, because they promised us this.
Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47. We're not going to allow it to be used against our fellow Americans anymore. Hell yes, hell yes, hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15. Hell yes, your AK-47. Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15.
Oh, hell no.
Hell yes.
So those promises back in 2020, and then Joe Biden and their antics and allowing all of the destruction and allowing all the trouble, folks, where we're having discussions about having stealth stun guns or carrying your everyday carry everywhere you go, has caused record gun sales for the last 48 straight months. I'm very proud of Americans for saying, you know what? I don't think so. We're going to arm up. We're going to arm up. Let's see. There we go. Okay. Little message from Jolene there just popped through. Okay. Back to this. This is incredible. For 48 months, record gun sales. When Obama was president for 8 years, record gun sales after record gun sales. Every time a mass shooting came up or a school shooting, gun sales went through the roof. We're having the exact opposite reaction that the left-wing idiots wanted. They thought that if a school shooting happened, we'd want to give up our guns. They thought if the government threatened to take our guns, that we would stop buying them and wasting our money. Instead, Americans are like, oh, you want to tell me I can't have guns, ammunition? I'm going to go out and buy even more and show you what I think. Now, as many of us have argued, most Americans probably would give up their guns if they were told. That, I think, is a true statement if you're talking about moderate people. I'm going to use that term, moderate. I have continued to meet here in the South people who you wouldn't think would even own guns. And they invite you to come over for dinner. And then they say, hey, you want to check out my collection? And it's like, okay, you're violating all kinds of operational security rules, but okay. And you go in and you see a collection that would make an armorer proud. And it's like, holy shit. There are people that have massive amounts of guns. They could arm a small army. Ammunition. Cases and cases of ammunition stacked up in the corner. And these are moderate, middle-aged, Gen X, boomers, some millennials who just, they don't care. They are not going to submit. Now, are they going to turn into battle-hardened Rambo, Chuck Norris types? Are they going to be armor-plated like the Terminator? No. But they have the right attitude, that American attitude of freedom and liberty. I guess none of us will know until that day comes. I say, you're not going to arrest me. I guess I'll find out on that day when it comes if they try it. Now, of course, if I get arrested because they zapped me with a taser from 20 feet away and took me to the ground, I guess I wouldn't have any choice. I wouldn't be allowing them, but they would be a sneak attack. But I'll tell you, every time I step out of a building or step into a building, I look around to see who is there. Operational awareness, security awareness at all times with me, whether it's 2 in the morning when I step outside or whether it's 10 at night when I go back in. I'm always watching, whether it's criminals or the government, it doesn't matter. That's the day we live in, folks. These are the days we live in, right? These are the days we live in, where the government and their propagandists do nothing but lie and lie and lie. If you have something you want to say, get your super chat donation in. We'll get your question on board. But I want to talk more about the lies that are going on. Right now, the media is going after the movie Sound of Freedom, which is about what? Well, it's about children that are kidnapped for sex trafficking to be sex slaves. And the media is going after it with bullshit stories. Why would they do that? We know that they're a bunch of liars and idiots. They're pure evil. They're pure stupid. They support this evil. But here's their bullshit, right? Right, here it is. Here's one report. One of their reports that's bullshit is that a St. Louis man was charged with accessory to child kidnapping. Okay, that's believable. He also donated to the movie Sound of Freedom. You know, child kidnappers fund movies so people are more aware of child kidnappers so that their own efforts as child kidnappers will be thwarted and they'll be arrested. Right? It'd be like, I'm a bank robber, but I'm going to donate money to a security firm so they can be better at having me arrested so I can't rob banks. That's how stupid the left-wing media and Democrat voters are, and that's how stupid they wished we were. So the fact that they pretend like they don't even see the problems, well, either they are that stupid or they're just liars and they want us to believe that, you know, everything's just fine. And they're attacking the Sound of Freedom. It's just a movie. The movie doesn't say go out and kill trans people. The movie doesn't say have an insurrection. The movie doesn't say anything about the Jim Jones juice. Why are they attacking it? Because it's exposing a problem, folks, that is huge. It's also pervasive, more pervasive than they want to admit. Have you stopped to wonder? Now, when I grew up, they put missing children on milk cartons. Missing children on milk cartons. What was that about? Well, children were missing. They just disappeared. Why did they stop putting kids on milk cartons or juice bottles? Shouldn't they still have pictures of kids that are missing? How many thousands of kids went missing? How many hundreds of thousands of kids went missing over the decades? We'll never know because they don't put kids and statistics on milk cartons anymore. I'm sure if they had their choice, the people in charge would be putting drag queens on milk cartons so that everyone could worship, you know, the drag queens. Yeah, you don't need any valuable information like, yeah, look out for kids. They don't want people protecting kids. They don't want people protecting freedom, liberty, our country. Unbelievable. All right. I want you to be aware, folks. They're coming after us in every single sector. Did you know that Wells Fargo is missing deposits from bank accounts? There have been problems with Wells Fargo as a bank for decades. I've never had a Wells Fargo account. I have heard complaints about Wells Fargo. They've been sued numerous times over their business practices. Right? But now customers are pissed off right now because their deposits from their bank accounts are missing. Wells Fargo, where's the money? Expect a lot more of this, folks. Expect a lot more. People being robbed by their banks. Isn't that fucking hilarious, though? It used to be that if you had wealth, gold and silver, back when that was money, you would put it in a bank, in a vault that was protected. You put your money in a bank, and guess what? The bank would give you a deposit slip that says, we have this much of your money in our bank. So if that bank got robbed, that's not your money. That's Wells Fargo's money. You got a chit, a deposit slip that says what you are owed by that company. That's how banks used to be. And if the whole bank collapsed, well, they came up with deposit insurance. So that if a bank collapsed because of their practices, the government would ensure that that deposit slip was good. And now here we are in 2023. The bank can just lose your shit. The banks are now the robbers. They're like, yeah, we don't know nothing about your deposits. Or, hey, we just seem to have lost all the money. And don't worry, right? You don't get to have it back. Or the bank has collapsed, so we're going to take all your deposits, which aren't deposits anymore. Now they're unsecured loans. Why the hell are people keeping any money at all in a bank? That's incredible. That's incredible. Keeping money in a bank. Who'd have thunk, right? Who'd have thunk about it? Who would have come up with the idea that banks are robbing people instead of the other way around? It used to be people would rob banks. It used to be that people would put money or wealth in a bank to protect it. Now, not so much. Not so much. Unbelievable. Right. Here's another one for you. At a museum in Seattle, there's a Harry Potter display. But J.K. Rowling, who is the author, she wrote the Harry Potter books. Right. They're destroying, they're removing her name from everything. Isn't that interesting? Folks, woke needs to be destroyed. Fight back. Corruption needs to be stopped. Fight back. Get prepared. Help others get prepared. That's why you share the internet address. And I appreciate the fact that you guys support this channel with your donations. Thank you so much. Every last one of you for all that you do. What these people are doing is they're tearing down the system and they're leading us to war, folks. They're leading us to war. We've got China and Taiwan. We've got North Korea, South Korea, Japan, and China. We've got Iran screwing around in the Strait of Hormuz. And then we've got Israel falling apart. But it's also tied up in some conflict with Iran. Then, of course, we got Russia and Ukraine. And now Africa is getting even worse, folks. That's right. In Africa, war is coming. Right, there's an ultimatum. It expires on Sunday, today. And we could end up with military intervention in Niger. Right, now, if the West, meaning France and Washington, D.C., the U.S. government, if they decide to go to bat and try and throw out the military coup that's occurred there, remember, this is a military coup in Niger that was put in place to get rid of French and American control. Well, they're going to now Russia, folks, or more specifically, the military coup leader is asking the Russian private military contractor Wagner for help. What do you think that means? Right. Wagner is the group that is kicking the shit out of the Ukraine military, which is funded and supplied by the United States of America and Europe. Now, the thing with Niger, folks, is that's not Ukraine. But there's a U.S. military base there. There's a French military base there. They each have 1,000 people. They've got troops. It's a mess. That country is a mess. The people are already extremely poor. I actually looked into a lot of their businesses there. They rely on money coming from other countries and doing business there just to survive. That's the control these people in power have over everyone else, folks. That's the control these people have. Right? The power of food and water, your standard of living. If you don't do as they say, they could kill you or just take away your food. Right? This is what they keep doing. This is how they keep everyone in control. This is why being prepared is such a big tool to have. It's armor for you. It's protection. To have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine means of self-defense. Right? Having all of that protects you, and it shields you from the government being able to threaten you. And look at how many people succumb to the threat. You'll lose your job. You'll lose your business contracts with the federal government if you don't do as you're told. And then they turn around years later, here we are saying, well, we never threatened you. We never told you you had to. We never made you do anything. Well, what is the threat about then? It's coercion, it's duress, it's illegal, it's fraud. Has that stopped the people, folks, in government from committing their acts? Nope. Nope. They've committed so much fraud that they've pissed off their allies even. Saudi Arabia, the Middle East, used to be great allies of the United States of America. Now they're signed on with Russia and China for what they have to sell. Right? In fact, folks, there's now a joint Russia and China, how do we put this, military exercise going on. China has a military, a navy. Russia has a military, a navy. They have a fleet of warships, folks, that are doing their exercises, and now they're off the coast of Alaska. Always, folks, before war breaks out, they test, they plan, they have drills, they have exercises, and it's something that's always been a concern. And the United States used to do that to other countries as well. Well, we're just going to come around and get as close to you as we dare and have some exercises. Right? Always test the enemy, their reaction, their response. Right? Test different places around the world to see how prepared, right, your enemies are. Well, the United States of America used to cover the entire globe with their military. What are they doing to protect us at home? Right? They got conflict in Ukraine. They're using up all of our munitions, our bombs, our missiles, our rockets, our ammunition. There's a complaint from the Pentagon that we don't have as a military all the ammunition we need. Got some wild stuff going on, folks. Are you prepared? Now, if Russia and China were to use their navy to take, say, Anchorage, Alaska, the big city, Alaska's big city, which I don't know how big it is, but it's not that big. Still, you know, if they took Alaska, what would you do in the state you're in? Well, I guess if you're in Hawaii, you're pretty nervous. If you're in a U.S. territory in the Pacific, you're pretty nervous. If you're the West Coast, you're pretty nervous. But what are you going to do? What's the government going to do? Got a lot of questions out there. Hey, man, let's do some super chats. Let's see what's going on out there. We've got Bernard Shreve Jr. Hey, man, we haven't seen you in a long time. Good to see that you're back. He's got a $5 super chat donation. He says, great to still see you, John. It's all coming together, isn't it? For SHTF, 3 years in the setup. You bet. It is coming together. Everything they're doing is bringing us to this point in time, this place. Every direction is bringing us to this SHTF setup. Are they going to pull the plug on us? Are they going to fail? Are they going to have a scorched earth policy or just a abandon everyone policy? Let me give you an abandon everyone policy and how that is just as nasty for us. What if? And I got this idea of all places from an English comedy movie. It was called World's End. If you haven't seen it, it's actually got quite a philosophical conclusion. And I'm glad you brought this up, Bernard. In the movie, they discovered while drinking beer, they were trying to do this beer run in this town and have a pint at every tavern. But they discovered that this town has been taken over by aliens. And the protagonists who are antagonizing the aliens end up confronting this alien technology with their philosophy of we don't give a shit, leave us alone. This plan to take over the planet that the aliens had. And they convinced the aliens to leave. And when the aliens left, they took everything they had that was supporting the earth and they just left. Imagine if all of the banks said, well, you don't want world socialism? You don't want our version of an economy and our version of history and our version of education and our version of health and food and medicine, and you don't want that? Then fine. Our banks will no longer lend money to all of your countries. And they just pull the plug, turn off the light switch. What if the Federal Reserve, which is a private bank, said, we're not going to lend money to anyone anymore? What if the BIZ, the Bank of International Settlements, that's the bank, folks, that all the central banks bank with. What if the Bank for International Settlements said, well, I guess the people of the world don't want us anymore. I guess we won't lend money to them. And they quit lending money to European nations and the United States and Canada and Australia. They pull the plug. The banks all stop. There's no more checks, no more credit cards, no more loans, no more payment. They don't have to fire a single bullet. But what would happen to you and me? The system would absolutely collapse. How do you buy anything? How do you conduct business without them? We need them, right? We need the banks. That's the game they're playing. Well, like that alien culture in the movie, what if the banks just said, fuck it, and left? There it is. Anyways, thank you, Bernard Shreve Jr., for the great super chat donation. I think we got one more out there as we close out this Sunday Night Live. And good golly, it's Bonnie Blue 2A checking back in again to wrap the show up with another $50 super chat donation. I tell you very much, Bonnie. Thank you for all the great support you've given us over the years. Back when I was at the RMZ, you took good care of me. Even before that. But since then, and especially since the RMZ, Bonnie, you've done a great job making sure the message is spread, that the channel stays alive, that my pantry has got lots of tuna fish and Spam, just in case those in charge say, fuck it. So, Semper Fi, God bless America, and peace, shalom to everyone. And if they won't give us peace, then we're prepared. So Bonnie Blue says, here is one more anesthesia via the Scotch, in case someone else steps up with the $475 for you to ride Sparky. Well, I'll tell you what, nobody took the Sparky challenge, so I don't have to show you how committed I am to my word, and that if someone did that, I would be taking one of these zappers and zapping the pudding out of myself. That would be interesting, would it not? I bet that hurts like hell. I don't want to find out. But I was willing to take the challenge. You guys have been great. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Uman, for handling everything. Thank you all. And Bonnie Blue takes the cake this week for top super chat donator. But thank you, all of you. Chen Music, thank you, Darcy. Thank you, Mr. Skylake, for all your great support. Thank you to Mr. T for doing the great transitions. In fact, this backdrop here was created for us by Mr. T. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Uman, for all you do. For all you do. Thank you for those who have gone over to Aquatic Adventures, which is the kind of the health and fitness and training that I do, as well as other activities and fun out there. Anyways, you guys have been absolutely fabulous. Here we are wrapping up Sunday. What is this week going to bring us? I doubt that this coming week is going to bring sunshine and daisies. Right? It's not coming. There's not going to be unicorns and leprechauns handing out free money and pots of gold. It's not coming. It's not coming. Instead, folks, right? Shit has hit the fan. Are you prepared? Up here. Do you have your plan? Anyways, thank you again. I'll be back bright and early before it's bright outside with 0 dark 30. Remember, only you can prepare yourself for all things coming. Thank you, and I'll see you soon.